Guys, I am so thrilled that we got to have Pastor Chris come to Deeper this year. He's been a great partner in my life. He's been an encouragement. He's coached me for a few years now. He's challenged me. I can honestly say I'm a better dad, a better husband, and a better pastor because of Chris. He's the founder of South Hills Church in LA, as well as the founder of Church.
Not only that, he is our missions partner for DeeperCon this year with Church Boom and Church Rescue. He has so blessed our lives. Would you welcome Chris Sonksen?
All right. Yeah, you can be seated. Hey, we'll jump right into it, man, and so awesome. Get ready to take some notes. Let's have some fun for the next few minutes. I promise I won't take too long, but you just need to laugh a lot, lean in, have a good time, because I think church should be the best place to be all week long. I think it should be the funnest place to be all week long, and we're going to have some fun. And I got to tell you, in all the years I have spoken, I speak a lot to corporate, Verizon, Hilton hotels. I speak at churches, conferences, all sorts of stuff, and all God's done, I have never had to follow Hulk Hogan until tonight. This is a first. The Hulk has arrived. Anyway, hey, I want to jump right into it today or this evening and get right into it. Several years ago, I had the opportunity to, first of all, before I cut out, I did this morning, but I want to make sure that tonight, always give honor where honor is due to Pastor Bo and Megan. Love them. They are friends. They are amazing leaders. They are partners in rescuing churches and helping pastors across America, and we are just getting started. We got many more years of working together and advancing the kingdom, and we love them so very, very much. But I want to jump right into it. So several years ago, we did this thing at our church called Living the Great Adventure, and it was where we would take 5 pastors, or 4 or 5 pastors, and every one of them had to do something crazy and adventurous, you know, and then we would film it, and then we would show it on Sunday. So like the youth pastor, he had to learn how to water ski barefooted, and it was awesome because we tied his hands to that little thing right there, and then when he fell forward, it just dragged him. But it was awesome. Literally, and that was cool. We're from California, so we have zero bull riding experience. We took our worship pastor, we found a place, taught him how to bull ride, and we put him on the screen, and he bull ride, and it was a disaster. And the children's pastor, he had to get all bundled up and go down to the Sheriff Academy. We worked it out. He got all attacked by the dogs and stuff. He didn't make it, but he wasn't doing a good job, so it was our way of advancing him off the team. And then my job was to skydive. And how many have ever skydived before? All right, raise your hand. You skydived before. All right, did you tandem or all the way? Oh, that's cute. And tandem is where you hook onto someone and you kind of go along for the. Did you do that too, Rob? You tandem? Oh, you did the real thing. Okay, so I did the real thing. So I was going to skydive. Everybody knew it. So that morning, Thursday morning before the Sunday, I got all ready, went down to a place called Lake Elsinore in Southern California, about a half hour away from where I live, and I signed all the forms, filled out all the forms, did all that stuff, and then I went and signed. You had to sign like a ton of forms. The last paragraph, they video you reading it before you sign it. It's crazy. So you do all this stuff, whatever. Okay, so then I get done, and now we're in the class. The class is literally, 2 or 3 times the size of the stage. It's not very big. There's only like 5 or 6 of us in this class. We're getting trained all day long how to skydive because after 6 hours of training, they'll let you jump out of the plane by yourself. It takes 6 months to get a license, 6 hours to jump out of a plane. Only in America. So we get training all day long. We do this training all day long, whatever. And but I remember being inside the class. I'll never forget it. And it was so funny because I said, "Hey, man," I said, "I noticed." I raised my hand. The instructor goes, "Yes, you." And I said, "Yeah." I said, "I noticed when I signed the paperwork." I asked the instructor in that little small class that you guys don't guarantee anything. He goes, "Oh no, man, we don't guarantee nothing." And I said, "You don't guarantee the plane?" "Nope." "The parachute?" "Nope." I said, "You don't guarantee the instructions we're getting?" He goes, "Nope." I said, "You don't guarantee the landing?" He goes, "Oh no, we guarantee you'll land." One way or another, dude, you will hit the ground. Then, I never forget, at the very end, he says, okay, this is important. It was a piece of paper. It had a little hand signals, about 25 of them or whatever, 20 of them. And he said, when you jump out, there'll be 2 jump masters like 15 feet away from you, and they'll give you hand signals. Your arms are too far apart, your legs are too far apart, you're shaking, like all these hand signals, 20 of them. And I said, held up the thing and I said, hey man, I go, are these things important? And the instructor's like, oh man, he goes, it's a matter of life and death. And I said, okay. I said, all right. And I said, I go, how are we supposed to memorize all these 20 life and death signals? This is what he tells me. He goes, oh, don't worry. You can take the paper with you. I'm thinking, I got it. I'm looking for the hand signal. Now, towards the end, it's time for us to jump. You know, we're about an hour and a half away. Now, my kids were really small at the time. They're much older, but my kids were really small at the time, 10 and 9 years old. My daughter's 10, my son's 9 years old at the time. We were going to go that night, we were going to go see Wizard of Oz, the play, at a community theater. And before that, we were going to go to Chuck E. Cheese, back in the day with the tokens and all that. So everybody's excited. So I called my wife. I said, hey, they say I'm going to jump in an hour and a half or something like that. Bring the kids. They want to watch me jump, you know. And I said, and then you bring my clothes. I'll change here. We'll go to Chuck E. Cheese. We'll go watch Wizard of Oz the play. And so we're all excited. Everybody's excited. So my son's all, man, this is awesome. He's got his pocket filled with tokens. My daughter was dressed as Dorothy. My wife had a life insurance policy. Everybody had a reason for being there. My wife was like, if he dies, he's worth a lot more. And her prayer was going that way. So they show up, and I'll never forget, they kept delaying it. They show up, and I'm all done up, you know, and look like a Michelin tire. I'm just standing there like this, talking to my son, 9 years old, my daughter right here, my wife right here. And they're like, okay, it's a 30-minute delay because there's too much wind up there. I'm like, okay. So I'm standing there talking to my son, and my son is a very emotional kid, very, very heart-warmed kid. And he says to me, he goes, Dad, I don't want you to go. What happens if you die, Dad? And I'm like, don't worry, son. God will take care of me. And in my mind, I was thinking, will he? Or is he up in heaven going, you're the dummy, don't jump? And then I overhear, this is the honest to God truth. And by the way, don't you love it when a pastor says, can I be honest with you? Because I'm always thinking, what have you been doing up to this point? But my daughter says to my wife, while I'm talking to my husband, I overhear my daughter say to my wife, this is the God honest truth. My daughter says to my wife, now if Daddy dies, we're still going to go see the wizard, right? I want to make sure our priorities are in check. He dies, we go to the wizard. Now it's time for me to jump. So we go up in the air, you know, you get inside this little plane or whatever, and there's like 5 of us and, you know, whatever, and a bunch of jump masters, blah, blah, blah. I'm the last one to go. They circle it around, and they say, okay, 2 minutes to jump. The guy yells it out, the pilot. And I'm like, and my jump masters, the 2 guys that will jump out like 20 feet on this side to kind of, you know, guide me. They're not hooked to me or anything. I'm on my own. And but they're, you know, a little bit away for guiding. The jump masters, check this out. The jump masters were named Yo-Yo and Ed. My life was in the hand of a yo-yo and an Ed. And so I'll never forget, we get up there, you know, and they're like, 1 minute to jump. And man, honest to God, Pastor Bo, I went like this because I was having a hard time breathing. I was like, it was like, da, 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 da. The only reason I did not chicken out, and I'm telling you, I would have, is because the church knew I was going to jump. I'm thinking, I can't go back and chicken out. I got to turn in my man card if I do that. I cannot just chicken out. You know, there's too much pride. But you know how the Bible says pride comes before a fall? It was about to happen. And so they're like, 30 seconds. And they go like this. They open this like little teeny garage door thing. You put your foot here, your hand here, your hand here. You look down, you're 15,000 feet in the air. And they're all 30 seconds, and the guy, Yo-Yo's standing right here, and Ed is kind of behind me, and we're all going to jump out. I'm going to go out center, they're going to go this way, and then guide me on the way down, whatever. You know, again, I'm not attached to them, so I'm holding on to them, and we're yell, 15 seconds, and I look at Yo-Yo, I'll never forget, because misery loves company. I'm like, Yo-Yo, I want you to know I'm really scared. I'll never forget it. He goes, don't worry, me and Ed will be just fine. I'm like, give a rip about you and Ed. What about me? So then I jump out, and it was amazing. The crazy thing is you're supposed to pull the cord at 3,000 feet. I could not find the cord. I pulled it at 1,200 feet. And so that was a little scary. You know, my wife's all, I got this insurance. Anyway, now I got to tell you, when it finally opened up, I mean, it goes from being, if you've ever done it really noisy, and then boom, it's just really quiet. And you can hear the parachute. It's really quiet. Beautiful. Now, I fly 150 to 200 times a year. I'm on about that many flights every year. I have always flown up to that point. I've always flown, and I've always seen the world from a 10-inch window. But on that day, I jumped, and I got to see the world from a completely different angle. And tonight, for the next few minutes, this is all I want to get across. That God wants to take your view from here to here. And what I mean by that is this, is I want to talk about one thing tonight, and that is the word to dream again. I want to teach you to dream again. Because pastors, all the lead pastors in the house, I want to teach you to dream again. There are things that come sometimes beat us up, sometimes get us down. We're not going as fast as we want. We're not going as far as we want. People are starting to hurt us. We talked about this morning. People are getting in our way, of people that are hurting our church and hurting our, being disloyal. Maybe you're here today and you're like, man, I don't feel called to the ministry. That's totally fine. But maybe you're called to build a business that could finance a lot of great things for the kingdom, but fear gets in the way, or doubt gets in the way. There's some of you in here that are songs that have not yet been composed, businesses that have not been started, books that have not yet been written. And it's all inside this room. And it's all inside this room. For some reason, I think that we are born with a shout, but we end up with a whisper. We're never meant to do that. We're born with a shout. We end up with a whisper, and we were never meant to do that. Somehow our dreams turn into routines. And I want to challenge you tonight as we conclude this entire amazing 3 days together. I can't think of a better thing to do for you to walk out that door and say, God, whatever dreams you put in my heart, whether that's writing a book, whether that is starting a business, or whether that's being in the ministry, whether it's like, man, I want to go multi-site, my church is stuck at 200, how do I get, whatever it is, that we would dream again one more time. And allow ourselves to dream the dreams that God has given us. One of my favorite characters in the Bible is Peter. I love him because he constantly messes up and God still loves him. Yeah. That is me in a nutshell. I am Peter, running around insecure, cutting the soldier's ear off. That would be me, doing something dumb. Now, real quick, if you don't understand, if you're a Jewish male and you live 2,000, now pay attention, if you're a Jewish male and you lived 2,000 years ago, you have one goal. That goal is to be a rabbi. What's the goal? To be a what? Rabbi. Okay, the goal is to be a rabbi. That's it. Every Jewish male wants to be a rabbi. I've studied this. That's what they want to be. Okay, now, how do you become a rabbi? Well, let me give you a little thing. When you're from age 5 to age 10, you are in a school. The Hebrew word is Bet Sefer, which actually means the house of books. Your job from age 5 to age 10 is to study the Old Testament, what we would call the Old Testament. The first 5 books of the Bible, you have to memorize them verse by verse. By the time you're 10 years old, you have to have all 5 books memorized. That's Bet Sefer. Then you move from age 10 to 15, you move to the second level. The Hebrew word there is Bet Talmud. Bet Talmud is the house of learning. Okay? Now the house of learning from age 10 to 15 is our version of the Old Testament. They have to memorize the entire Old Testament verse by verse. How many would have failed Bet Talmud? I'd have been like, John 3:16, I got that one. Okay, then if you graduate from there, you move to the Bet Midrash, which is a Hebrew word for the house of study. Okay, now the house of study is basically this. It's that you go to a rabbi. Watch this. You go to a rabbi, you kneel before the rabbi, and you say, Rabbi, can I follow you? Can I be mentored, apprenticed, by you? If the rabbi says yes, then you are in and you go out and you learn what it means to be a rabbi. If he says no, all your schooling comes to an end, no reason given, you're just done, and you go back to your family's trade. Farming, fishing, whatever your family did, that's what you're going to do for the rest of your life. Now, when Jesus meets Peter, what was Peter doing? Anybody know? Fishing. He was fishing. Why was he fishing? Because he went back to his family's trade. Why did he go back to his family's trade? Because he failed as a rabbi. Well, you go back with me 2,000 years ago when 15-year-old Peter was told by a rabbi, not you, you're not good enough. Wow. You can't do it. You can't write that book, write that song, start that business, join that ministry, be a pastor. You can't do it. And so he goes back, sits at the breakfast table with his parents, feeling he's been assigned to a life he doesn't want. Until one day, while he's out there fishing, the ultimate rabbi comes to him. Watch this. And instead of Peter having to say, Rabbi, can I follow you? The ultimate rabbi says, you follow me. He flips the tables on him. Flips the tables on Peter. Completely flips it around. Because he saw in Peter what Peter could not see in himself. He even changed Peter's name. He said, you no longer are called Simon, you're called Peter. Simon comes from the Greek word Simeon, which means pebble. The Greek word for Peter means Petra. He said, it's Petra, which means rock. Jesus comes to him and says, Peter, you see yourself as a pebble, but I see you as Petra, a rock. I see you way different than everybody else sees you. But look what happens. After all that, look what happens. Real quick, in Matthew chapter 14, I believe it is. Here we go. Put it on the screen for me. Okay, I'm going to just run through this. Meanwhile, the disciples were in trouble. I don't know where we're at here. We skipped it. Okay, I'll just read. Meanwhile, the disciples were in trouble far away from land, for a strong wind had risen, and they were fighting heavy waves. About 3 o'clock in the morning, Jesus came toward them walking on the water. When the disciples saw him walking on the water, they were terrified. In their fear, they cried out, it's a ghost. Verse 27. Jesus spoke to them at once. And don't be afraid. Take courage. I'm here. Then Peter called him, Lord, if it's really you, tell me to come to you walking on the water. Yes, come, Jesus said. So Peter went over the side of the boat, walked toward Jesus on the water. But when he saw the strong wind and the waves, he was terrified and began to sing, save me, Lord, he shouted. Jesus immediately reached out and grabbed him. You have so little faith. Why do you doubt me? Now, here's the thing. Peter, called by Jesus, one of the first disciples, changes his name. He is called. He goes from being rejected by a rabbi to being accepted by the ultimate rabbi until one day, this happens in here. And he said, he gets out of the boat, only human being outside of Jesus who was in the flesh to walk on water. I think it's funny how we criticize Peter. Oh, he sank. I'm like, yeah, we would have sunk the minute we went in. But he walks on water but starts sinking. Here's an interesting thought. Did Peter, the reason he sunk, did Peter lose his faith in Jesus? I don't think so. How do you lose your faith in someone that's standing on water? I don't think Peter lost his faith in Jesus. I think Peter lost his faith in how Jesus viewed him. Something changed in there. I'm still just the failure. I'm still the guy that didn't even make it to rabbi school. I'm still the guy that just wasn't able to do that. I think he lost it. And I just want to give you 3 quick little points today. Not a lot of points. 3 quick little points that I think Peter had to do in order for him to become this insecure, fearful, doubtful leader who a few years later becomes the first pastor of the first local church and is described in the Bible as he who has turned the world upside down. How does he go from here to here? What happened in the process? There's a few things that happen. It's as simple as ABC. The A stands for attitude. Say attitude with me. Come on. Attitude. Peter's attitude had to change. How many have ever met someone with a really great attitude? Come on. You've met a few. 3 of you. Good, positive people here at the Hill. Ever met anybody with a bad attitude? Watch all the hands go up for this one. Some of you are going like this. That's not cool. How many have ever met anybody that brings more joy when they exit the room than when they enter? Am I right? Like, oh, really? You got to go? That's too bad. You know what I'm talking about. We have that, okay? Peter had to deal with his attitude, and I think you and I need to too. And I won't spend a lot of time here, but just to tell you that I think that you and I have to watch the attitude and to be able to have that attitude that, God, you've called me. God, you said that I'm more than able. God, you said that I could do in his word. He says, you will do more things than I've ever done. That's pretty powerful. That inside of here, that attitude's got to change. And that attitude, you see, a lot of that is just perspective. A matter of just having that right kind of attitude, that right kind of perspective. Matthew 7, verse 7, you know the scripture. You can fill it in for me. Ask and it will be given unto you. And the next part says, seek and you will find. You ever thought of that? Maybe that has a little bit to do with attitude and not just prayer. Seek and you will find. Hey, if you're looking for the best in your marriage, you'll find it. If you're looking for the worst, you'll find it too, because whatever you seek, you find. If you're looking for the best at your job tomorrow morning, or you're looking for the worst at your job tomorrow morning, you'll find it, because whatever you seek, you find. Okay? And it's like the hummingbird and the vulture. Watch this. The hummingbird looks for what is alive. The vulture looks for what is dead. The hummingbird looks for what is fresh. The vulture looks for what is stale. The hummingbird looks for what is new, and the vulture looks for what's old, and both find exactly what they're looking for. Because whatever you seek, you'll find. Hey, God, you got dreams for me. Whatever you seek, you find. God, I think that, God, you're going to allow me. God, I'm going to speak this into existence. This is what you're going to do with my life. Some of you pastors are way past the time of writing your book. Especially Bo. He should have his fourth one out. I'm going to really start yelling at this guy. No, and the book, the idea, the concept, the ministry, the multi-site, your own life, your business, your book, whatever it is, the attitude that says, whatever I seek, I find. The Bible says your life is shaped by your thoughts. In Proverbs 17, your life is shaped by your thoughts. So you begin to think, I am capable. I can do this. Let me tell you, even for those that are, the pastors are normally kind of in the front row, I want to speak to the teenager all the way up to the person who's 80 years old in here. God is not done with you. Yeah. When he's done with you, you'll be dead.
That's right.
Okay, and let me tell you what else. God doesn't do average. He just doesn't do average. You ever heard that song, How Great Is Our God? Sing with me. It doesn't say how average. Could you imagine? Oh, God, we love your averageness. You're so beige. And, you imagine? But the attitude that just says, I serve a great God, and God has a great thing for me. You got to believe that. Let me go to the second thing real quick, is the word belief. Say belief with me. What is it? Belief. Okay, first, Peter, how did he go from being this crazy, insecure leader to being this unbelievable first pastor of the first local church and author in the Bible? Dude, the guy goes from here to here. Well, one was he had to check his attitude. And I think you do. Attitude's just not some motivational word. This ain't a motivational message. I think attitude comes from Jesus. I think he teaches on it. Whatever you seek, you find. Yeah. And we learned this morning in the Old Testament, the spies of Israel, their attitude was the problem. Yeah. That's something big, you guys. And that attitude makes a huge difference to the way you are. I'm telling you, watch this. It'll make a huge difference in your marriage. It'll make a huge difference in how people receive you. It'll make a huge difference how people look at you. The second one is the word belief. The second one is the word belief. The belief has to change. Now, let me give you something. You might want to take some notes, because I'm going to fly through this. John chapter 14. We don't have it on the scripture, but just listen. John 14. Jesus one day, now pay attention to this. You got to follow me on this thought. Jesus one day tells the disciples, he looks at them and he says, I will not leave you like an orphan. Now stop. Hold on. He says, I will not leave you like an orphan. This is to a group of people that, as far as we know, weren't orphans. So I want you to go back 2,000 years with me, okay? Jesus says, I won't leave you like orphans. I wonder if a couple of the disciples were like, none of us here are orphans. I don't know what he's talking about. Right? None of them are orphans, so what is he talking about? What he's talking about is something that we all struggle with, starting with me and all of us. We struggle with something called the orphan spirit. We all struggle with the orphan spirit. What is an orphan spirit? It's that thing in us that wants to be admired, that wants to be affirmed, that wants attention. That's why as pastors, if we're really honest, we're often guilty of comparing size of churches and the things that are going on and where we spoke and what we did, because it's that affirmation we're looking for. We do it as people, and some of you adults saying, well, that's more teenagers. No, we do it as adults. It just gets more expensive. Because the affirmation of the kid is, I got to have the latest shoes, and the affirmation of the adult is, I got to have the latest car. We buy things we don't need with money we don't have to impress people we don't even like. But we all do it for affirmation. It's the orphan spirit. When you think of the word orphan, throw out some words. When you think of the word orphan, what do you think of? A kid, an orphan. He is what? Father. Okay, what else? Okay, what else? Yeah, needing affirmation, alone. Okay, scared, alone. Years ago, I was at an orphanage with a bunch of with some people in a church thing that we were doing or whatever, and I was there, and I'm standing there at this orphanage, and we're trying to raise money for it, and through Convoy Hope and all this stuff, and I'm looking out the window, and just talking to the leader, looking out the window, and nobody. All of a sudden, the kids come running in, like 40 or 50 orphans come running in, and all of a sudden, they're like combing their hair. You know, and they're putting they're changing their shirt, they're combing their hair, they're brushing their teeth, they're going like this, doing this thing. And I'm like, what? And I asked the guy at the orphanage, the husband and wife, I said, what are they doing? He pointed out to a car of parents that were coming to select a kid that day. And they just wanted to be chosen. That's the orphan spirit. We all have it. And let me tell you something. The enemy will do everything he can to help you and cause you to feel like an orphan. Why? Because he is the ultimate orphan. He was kicked out of heaven, and he's been an orphan ever since. And his idea is, look, if I'm going to feel like an orphan, you're going to feel like an orphan. You're going to know what it feels like I need affirmation, I need value, I need worth, I need to be accepted. The enemy will do that. And for all of eternity, when he's become the ultimate orphan, there is no one that's been an orphan longer than the enemy. And he just says, if I can keep David Hampson from feeling, if he can feel like an orphan, I can keep his church right here. I don't need to do anything else. That orphan spirit will create the problems for his own dreams and your own dreams as well. Now, the enemy's tool has always been the same when it comes to the orphan spirit. It started with the first two people on the planet, Adam and Eve. What happened with the fruit of Eve? Okay, think about it for a minute. Now stay with me. His formula is do, have, be. What is it? Come on. Do, have, be. Hold on. You do this, eat this fruit. You'll have this, all the knowledge of God, and then you'll finally be somebody. Yeah. He does the same thing with us. Yeah. If you do this, then you'll have this, and you'll finally be somebody. Jesus also knows what it feels like to be an orphan. He does. For a moment, he was on the cross. He said, Father, where are you? You've abandoned me. He knew what it felt like to be an orphan. No wonder he looked at you and said, I know what it feels like to be an orphan, Kevin, and I am not going to let that happen to you. Yeah. I will not let that happen. And you know what else he does? He comes along and he reverses what the enemy did. Do, have, be. And Jesus says, oh, no. Be, have, do. You already be something in Christ. You have everything that you need. Now go do something. It starts off with who you are in him. That's where the dream starts. And that's how we overcome this orphan spirit that we have. We all have it. So the word attitude is a big deal. The word belief is a big deal. I told you I do a lot of traveling. A few years ago, I don't know if you've ever heard of this before. Maybe you've traveled a little bit. I don't know. There's a thing called the Admiral Lounge. You've probably seen little signs that says Admiral Lounge. They have them at big airports. Dallas, New York, LA. Big airports has Admiral Lounge. The Admiral Lounge, if you're at a big old airport, is this place that you go to if you travel a lot and they make you a member or whatever, and it's totally different. If you've ever been inside the terminal, there's McDonald's there, there's kids running around, they're snot running out of their nose, French fries flying. It's a mess in a busy terminal. It's this human petri dish, and just germs flying around. But the Admiral Lounge, the Admiral Lounge, doors open up, and you can literally hear the angels, and you walk in. They got restaurant. They've got places where you can sleep. They got a massage thingy chair. They've got food. They've got showers. And it's all quiet in there and nice, all turmoil out here, but all quiet and nice. Okay, now, fast forward a little bit. A few years ago, I'm sitting in the Dallas airport. My flight's delayed. I see a guy I haven't seen in a long time. Dude, brother, we give each other a hug. He's like, my flight's delayed for 2 hours. I go, so is mine. He tells me, let's go to the Admiral Lounge. I say to him, Admiral Lounge? we're not allowed to go. Now keep in mind, I fly 150 to 200 times a year. You'd think I would know this. But a few years ago, he said, I'm all Admiral Lounge. We can't go in the Admiral Lounge. That's for pilots. Because doesn't it sound pilot-y? I mean, Admiral doesn't sound like I should be there. So I go, we can't go in there. He goes, what are you talking about? I go, it's for pilots. He started cracking up. He's like, are you out of your mind? It's for people that fly a lot. La, la, la. I'm like, okay. All of a sudden, the door, I've never been in there. The doors open up, and I was like, this is unreal. I mean, literally, it was like, ah. I could hear the angels. It was incredible. We walk up to the counter, and my friend goes, hey, my name's so-and-so, la, 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 whatever. And okay, this is my guest. What's your name, sir? Chris Sonksen. How you spell that? La, la, la. This is what she says to me. Oh, Mr. Sonksen, you've been a member for 7 years. Seven years. And I'm thinking in my mind, I'm telling this lady, are you telling me for 7 years I could have been in here rather than over here with these crazy kids at McDonald's? Are you telling me that I could have been right here with the lady with the necklace in Titanic rather than hanging out with Leonardo? Is that what you're telling me? I've been a member for 7 years. I wonder if for all of us in here, we've been a member to the Dream Again Society for 7 years. We just haven't stepped into the doors yet. That's the only difference. Hey, it isn't just for me or Pastor Bo or Kevin or Adam or Pastor Dave. It's for everybody in here to step on into everything that God has. It's that belief inside your heart. And man, I think that's what Peter needed to change, because he saw himself as a pebble. He saw himself as a struggle. He saw himself as the failed rabbi. That's the way he saw himself. His attitude had to be adjusted. But for him to begin to dream again, he had to believe for something bigger for his life. And let me tell you something. There's many of us in here that we allow so many things to get in the way of our dreams that God has put in your heart. The dreams that God has put in your heart that you haven't lived out yet. And you know what? We allow fear to get in the way. But I always tell people come to me all the time, Pastor Chris, pray for me, I got a fear problem. No, you don't. You have a belief problem. Because fear must always submit to belief. Fear problem, a doubt problem. Maybe it's a doubt. I don't believe in myself. I don't believe God has for me. I don't think I can write that book. I don't think I can start that business. I don't think God's really called me to full-time ministry, or whatever the doubt is. Fear, doubt. How about this one, everyone? Insecurity. We all struggle with that. And then here's the big one, other people's opinions. Oh my gosh, it's unbelievable how we listen to negative and broke people. Isn't that true? It's like, why are we listening to them? Here's the thing, watch this. Here's what I've noticed, that people that are above me in my life are always pulling me up, and people that are below me are always pulling me down. Do you know why people pull you down? They pull you down to a level that's comfortable for themselves. And you know why they do that? Because your desire for excellence threatens their mediocrity. That's what's happening. They're pulling you down because your desire for excellence in your life will threaten their mediocrity. And that's why they do that. But Peter, he's a failed rabbi. He had to get mocked by his friends that made it, and he didn't. But his attitude changed, and a belief began to change. And then the final thing is this, is the word courage. The courage had to change. Everything started to change. First the attitude, then the belief, then the courage. You got to have the courage. Listen to me. You got to have the courage. The courage to step out. Miracles only happen when you step out. The Jordan River didn't stop a mile up when they stood on the shore. It stopped a mile up when they stepped in. It's the courage to say, I'm going to start going back to school. I'm going to join some Bible classes. I'm going to talk to my pastors. I'm going to get the coaching that I need. I'm going to get the help that I need. I'm going to do whatever I got to do to get to that dream. I'm not going to make excuses anymore. I'm going to have the courage to do what I need to do as a pastor, as a volunteer, as a leader in the church, to do everything that God has called me to do. Courage to stand and say, I'm going to go after it. Believe me, I know this. I didn't grow up in a Christian home at all. And my dad, I got invited to a youth group, went to the youth group, gave my life to Christ, started following Jesus. When I was 17 years old, I was standing in the hallway of 3481 Grant Street when my dad said to me, when I was a senior, what are you going to do when you graduate? And I said, Dad, I'm going to go to Bible college somehow. And I'm going to write books. I'm going to start churches. I'm going to help change the world for Jesus. And I'll never forget what my dad said to me at 17 years old. He looked at me and said, son, you will never make it. You do not have what it takes. You are no good. I had a decision right there that I needed to make. I needed to make this decision. Was I going to listen to my earthly father, or was I going to listen to my heavenly father? That was my options. And I'm telling you, I'm not the most courageous person in the world, but I said, man, I'm going to Bible college because God called me. I'm going to write that first book because God called me to do it. I'm going to start that church when all we had was $5,000 in our account. We're going to start it, and then we're going to launch a second, and a third, and a 10th, and a 12th, and then we're going to start coaching pastors, maybe 4, maybe 8. Last month alone, 302 churches were being coached by us. And all of a sudden, I just see it, not because I'm smart, not because I'm intelligent, not because I'm any better anybody in this room. I'm not. The only thing I've done right is I've actually taken God for his word. That's it. Like, hey man, I'm nothing special, but he said he'd use me. And it's the courage to step out to whatever dream that you've allowed to become silent in your life, to whatever dream you've allowed to be robbed in your life. That's what it is. Now listen. Last couple thoughts and we'll wind it down. Here we go. Write this down. 1 Samuel chapter 1. Hannah. Maybe you know the story, maybe you don't. Hannah wanted to have a baby. All her life she wanted to have a baby. Stay with me on this story, don't lose this. Hannah wanted to have a baby. For 19 years, theologians said, she would kneel down inside the temple and say, Lord, give me a son. Father, give me a son. In chapter 1, verse 5 is a very interesting verse in 1 Samuel. It says that God closed her womb. It wasn't that she was born with the inability to have babies. God just decided, no, you're not going to have one. Now, I love God, but I'm going to be honest with you, that seems really mean. Come on. You read that and go, what the heck, God? All she wants to do is have a baby, and you close the womb? It's not that she was born that way. You closed the womb? And she kept praying, God, give me a son. 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 For 19 years she prayed, God, give me a son. God, give me a son. God, give me a son. And it didn't happen. One day in the temple, drop down several verses later, she says, God, give me a son, and I will make him a Nazirite. Yeah. And then by simply changing the prayer from God, give me a son, to God, give me a son, and I will make him a Nazirite dedicated to you, God opened up her womb, and she had that son, Samuel. Now, hold on. What changed? Listen, don't miss this. Here's what changed. Hannah's vision finally caught up to God's. That's what changed. It's the only thing that changed. Hannah's vision finally caught up to God's. And maybe yours and I's is the same. Sheldon, it could be for you. It could be for me. It could be for you, Rob. I don't know. But maybe it's just like, finally our vision is catching up to God's. I wonder if God would just look and go, yeah, I'm doing a lot, Clayton, but man, you should see what I want to do in your life. You should see what I want to do in your life. All that happened was her prayer changed, and her vision finally caught up to God's. I wonder sometimes. Ralph Waldo Emerson was one of my favorite guys to read all his stuff. He died many years ago, and he was Pulitzer Prize winner, all sorts of stuff. And he was asked this question before he died. He said, hey, the interview was, hey, when you die, if you could come back as anybody, who would you come back as? Interesting question, huh? This is what he said. I would come back as the man Ralph Waldo Emerson could have been, but never was. I wonder if that's for us. I wonder if God's going, Kevin, look what I'm doing in your church, but can I tell you what I'd really like to do? I just need your vision to catch up to mine. Dream again. Attitude, belief, courage. Last story. I love baseball. I've been to all 30 baseball stadiums. I love baseball. And what's the big team around here? Cardinals. Are you guys still playing? I live in California, and I know you're going to hate me for this. I live in California, and I am a diehard from the word go, a Yankee fan. I love them because everybody hates them. And 27 World Series, you know, that, whatever. But anyway, I love baseball, When my son was just 2 years old, I wanted to coach baseball, but he was not able to obviously play. He's only 2 years old. So I'm working at this church. I'm an associate pastor. We hadn't started the church yet. I was about 27 years old. This guy, long story short, this guy invites me and tells me from the church. He goes, hey, man, I got a 9, 10, 11-year-old team. We were living in L.A. at the time, Los Angeles. And he says, I got a team, and I was wondering if you want to be the coach. I'm like, dude, I'd love to be a coach, man. Let's do this. So we go to our first day of practice. We line up the 15 kids. He's kind of an introvert. I'm more of an extrovert. So we line up 15 kids. He's like, oh, you know, introduce yourself and kind of take it from here. Parents are out there filling out all these forms, right? At the little park. And I'm all, what's your name? The little, 9, 10, and 11-year-olds. What's your name? Tommy. What's your name? Jose. What's your name? Bobby. What's your name? Carlos. What's your name? Freddie. I go, what's your name? And I come to this big Samoan kid. He's 11 years old. He goes, people call me the babe. I'm like, really? You're so humble. And, now, this kid, this Samoan kid, he was left-handed. I know baseball. I love baseball. He could powder the ball. I mean, just the problem wasn't Babe's ability to hit the ball. The problem was he didn't like to run. We had to set up incentives at all the like a Fun Dip, Three Musketeers, Snicker bar. The only way to get him moving, because once he got to second, he was done. We had another kid on the team named Freddie. Say Freddie. Freddie. He had zero athletic ability in his body. None. He couldn't hit. He couldn't throw. He couldn't catch. Nothing at all. No athletic ability. But he had the most positive attitude on the planet. I'm serious. I've never seen anything like it. He'd be like this. And he was left-handed as well. Strike one. And he'd smile. Like, what are you smiling about? Strike two, strike three. He comes back one time. He goes, I'm back, coach. I'm like, you're not supposed to be back. We need you on the bases. And he was horrible. Freddie had this dad that was just ginormous. I don't know what happened in the gene pool, but the kid is just all small and tiny, and his dad is just huge, And Freddie, I would stand on first base, all throughout the games. Freddie, take a swing. You can do it. Take a swing. Strike one. Take a swing. Strike two. Strike three. He strikes out every time. I stand on first base as a first base coach, and I tell him, take a swing. He strikes out every time like clockwork. Every time. Game 4, game 8, game 9. One time, the ball came at his head. He ducked. The bat hit the ball like that. It went foul like about 1.5 feet, and the crowd went crazy. Freddie's lifting up his hands like, yeah, that was awesome, wasn't it, He was so excited. About the 15th game, I'm standing up there, Freddie, as I've been doing 1,000,000 times. You can do it. Take a swing. You can do it. Take a swing. Strike one. Freddie, you can do it. Take a swing. Strike two. Freddie, you can do it. His dad, ginormous man, yells out from the crowd, Freddie, don't swing. You can't hit. You're not good enough. Oh, I was so mad. As a leader and as a pastor, and I turned around. Don't listen to your dad. That was great pastoral advice. Dude, his dad turned around. He's like, what'd you say? Say. It kind of echoed towards me. Ginormous dude. I was scared to death moving that point forward. So I'm going to take a swing. He strikes out again. Now, we finally get to the championship game. Our record is 25-1. We've only lost one game. In L.A., baseball is life. And I'm telling you, we go to the championship game, one game, 6 innings. There are 400 people there in 3 news vans for a little baseball game. I'm like, these people are weird. And so we get it, and we battle it out. We're called the White Sox. First inning, second inning, third inning, fourth inning, fifth inning. This is the championship game. There were these little $15 trophies that I wanted so bad. I could have bought 100 of them, but no, I wanted that one right there. And so we get to the 6th inning. We're now to the bottom of the 6th. We're the home team. Last ups. This is it. We are down 2-1. They are winning. We either tie this game and go to extra innings, or we win the game. If we don't get a run, we lose the championship game, and our record's 25-1. Okay, watch this now. This is an insane thing. Okay, the first kid gets up, nails a double. Now we got a man on second. No outs. Okay, we got a man on second. All we got to do is get that guy home and we at least tie. Go to extra innings. Next kid gets up, boom, line drive back to the pitcher. 1 out, man on second. Next kid gets up, boom, a little blooper to first base. Two outs now, man on second. We're 1 out away from losing the entire thing. And who is coming to bat? Do you think he's worried? Not at all. He has no idea what's going on. Is this an important game, coach? I mean, literally, there's a lot of people here. Now, I want to take you back. You've been sitting for a while. Stand with me quickly. Stand with me. Stay focused. Don't make a lot of, I don't know why when we stand we have to make noises. Maybe it's just because we're getting old. But stay with me. I want to bring you, come on, just for the next 2 minutes, I want to bring you several years ago into the, you're the crowd. And I want to bring you right into this situation. 2 outs, man on second. When we get to the very end of this story, I want you to cheer. This is how we're going to finish everything out. I want you to cheer for every leader in this room, for every person in this room. I want you to cheer for yourself. I want you to cheer for everybody in this room because we're going to walk out there and we're going to go after our dreams like we have never done before. Now, here's how the story goes. We got 2 outs. We got a man on second, and here comes Freddie to bat. He's not nervous at all. He doesn't even know what's going on. And he goes up to first base, and he goes up, and I'm like, Freddie, all year long, this is it. We're 1 out away from losing the whole thing. And I'm like, Freddie, you can do it. Take a swing, strike 1. And he smiles again. I'm like, would you stop smiling? And he gets up, and I'm like, Freddie, you can do it. Come on, man, take a swing. You can do it, buddy. Boom, strike 2. We are now down to 1 strike away from losing the entire thing. I'm standing on third base thinking, man, me and God need to have a talk. And so I'm not kidding. I stand on third base or first base line, and I'm like, God, man, all year long, I have been telling this kid to take a swing. And all year long, he keeps striking out. Now, God, I know. I'm praying this on first base coach. God, I know this kid's got no athletic ability in his body whatsoever. And God, I know there is no chance that his bat will hit the ball. But could you, by accident, let the ball hit the bat? If that doesn't work, let the ball hit him. I don't care either way. I just need him on base. He's standing up there. This is it, you guys. This is it. Man on second. This is it. Here comes the pitch. All of a sudden, Freddie, you can do it. Take a swing. Correct. He nails it to right field. Now, listen to this. He didn't know what to do. We never had to train him to run. We never thought we'd get this far. And so, correct, he nails it. Now the kid on second's got wheels. Boom, he comes home. We're tied. Freddie rounds first, and I look out to right field, and it goes through the legs of the right fielder. And I'm like, go, go, go. Freddie is heading to second base. I illegally, in the middle of the play, go from first base to third base over the pitcher's mound in the middle of the play. And I'm running over, and I see Freddie's dead. And so I'm on third base now. Freddie's rounding second, and he's coming to third. We're tied up. This is it. We're tied up, right? Because the other guy already scored. And everybody's all, hold him, hold him, hold him. I'm like, heck no, man. Let's do this, So Freddie's coming, and he's rounding, and all of a sudden I go like this, go, go, go. And I'm sending him like this, and all of a sudden I see it in the outfield. Perfect throw to second base, and I knew that kid had a rocket of an arm, and I thought, this is not going to be good. He rounds third base. I'm all, go, go. In my mind, I'm thinking, I'm a nervous wreck. He's not worried at all. He just rounds third like... He comes rounding third like this, and I'm like, go, go, go. And all of a sudden, I see the ball, Freddie. It's happening right there. And I yell out, slide, slide. He didn't know how to slide, so it was more of a duck and roll. The dust flies up, and the umpire yells, safe! Oh. And we win the championship game on Freddie's one and only hit all year long. We picked up his little 40-pound body. We were marching him around. He's still wondering, when do I get my Capri Sun and my snack? And but I'm telling you this, all year long, I told that kid to take a swing. And finally he did. And finally he connected. And I'm telling you, I don't care if you're a pastor in here, you're a volunteer usher, or who you are, it is time to dream again. And I want you to stand in the batter's box and take a swing for what all God has for your life. Take a swing and see what God does. God bless you guys. Pastor.